All right, bottom half, a second page of notes. So we're getting into this solving. Now, this is what I call the golden rule. You'll hear me talk about it. The golden rule of inequalities. This is the only thing that really makes solving inequalities different than a regular solving an equation. So when you are solving inequalities, we are going to flip. And depending on the teacher, the video, Khan Academy, or whatever you're reading test, it could be flip or it could be switch. So switch is the other word that people use. I know I use flip, so I'm making sure we say flip first, so that way when I talk about it in future videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. You're going to switch the symbol when multiplying or dividing. How like that? Only multiplying or dividing. So this has nothing to do with any word other than multiplying and dividing at this point. So that's what we got to get in our head. Multiplying or dividing by a negative. That is not subtracting. That is not adding a negative. Multiplying or dividing a negative only. All right, so we're starting super simple. So we're going to pretend like this is an equal to sign for right now. So like I've told you before, we have a great divide on our equal marks when we do our regular equations because we want to stay focused. We don't know where to start all the time because we got lots going on. So we're going to box in our variable. What's on the side of the variable that needs to move? That's what we need to ask ourselves every time. So I have a negative 11. So I'm going to add 11 to both sides. Now I added a positive 11, so everything is perfectly fine. We can keep boogieing. So if I owed you 4 and I paid you 11, that means I gave you an extra positive $7. 7 is greater than n. Now, this is where we mess up because that's not in the same order as you're used to in your previous, like lower level math classes or at the beginning of our worksheet because I didn't want to blow your mind. So we are going to start with, if I have a 0, positive 7 is somewhere over here. Don't worry about drawing lots of little like dashes. Just, the positive 7 is on the right side. It's a greater than. 7 is greater than n if we're reading from left to right. But you want to read from the variable every time. So whichever side. So if, yep, that looks like a D, sorry. R-I-A-B-L-E, variable. Read from the variable. So in this case, like we're going to read from n. So we're going to read backwards. N is less than, because it's the butt of the inequality. N is less than 7. So we know we have an open circle at 7 because it's no equal to. And then we are going to shade in the direction where n is less than 7. So this way. Now, this is where I was saying your test point might come handy when it flips. So if I put 7 is greater than 0, because 0, is on the left of a positive 0, that is a true statement. So I know to shade towards 0. And of course, this should be attached to our, there we go, open circle. So if you use 0 as a test point, sometimes it'll help you if the reading forwards and backwards of your inequalities or the variable being on the right and the left side trips you up a little bit. Okay, so number 2, again, very simple equations. We're really just focusing on our rules and shading in the right direction when the variable's on, quote unquote, the wrong side for us. We're going to add 11 because our m is right here. So we're going to add 11 again, coincidentally. 11 plus 0 is going to be 11. So 11 is greater than m, or reading from variable side, m is less than 11. So I'm going to put a 0. I know 11 is going to be out here somewhere, and then these are going to be all my negative numbers. So this is infinity, goes on forever. This is negative infinity, goes on forever the other way in negative. So I know I'm going to have an open circle at 11, and then I'm going to test 11 greater than 0. Is 11 greater than 0? It is, so we're going to shade in the direction of 0. So we're going to make sure 0 is in that line when we shade. All right, now we're going to do some mathy math. 19x, so we have our x is attached to 19 by multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide by 19. Divide by 19, so on both sides, because whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So let's go 57 divided by 19 is going to be 3. It's a negative 57 positive 19, so we're now going to have x, it's on the side we usually like, less than or equal to a negative 3. And so to put that on the number line, we're going to have a 0, and negative 3 is going to be over here, right? So we're going to test our 0. is 0 less than or equal to -3? No. Owing money is bad. Having 0 money is not great, but it's better than owing or being in the negative, right? So 0 is not less than -3. So we're going to put a solid circle on -3, and it probably would have been smarter to put my 0 further down to the right on my line. And then we are going to shade away from 0. Can't cover 0 because 0 is not less than or equal to -3. Number 4, great divide. Variables on the side most of you like again. So we have n. We're going to add 2, add 2. So if I add 2, these 2's go away. If you remember from our equations from last week and earlier in the week, n is greater than or equal to, if I owe you $12, so you're in the whole $12, -12, and pay you 2, I'm going to owe you a -10. So I'm going to put my 0, and my -10 I know is going to be to the left of 0, because that's where our negatives go, because again, negative infinity is over here, all the numbers negative, and positive infinity is on the right, all the numbers positive relative to 0. So we have a solid circle at -10, because we have that equal to there. Solid circle at -10. We're going to test our 0 point. So is 0 greater than or equal to -10? Like I said, if you have no money in your pocket, that's better. That's more than owing someone $10. So 0 is indeed greater than -10. So we'll shade in the direction of 0 and then keep going that way because all numbers greater than -10. So those are your basic 1 steps. Didn't have to use the golden rule of inequality, golden rule of inequalities yet, but just wait for it. It's coming. So now 2-step equations. If you are not super strong at 2-step equations, this is more time to practice. These are notes. Pause it, try it, mess up if you have to, and then come back and check it. Because messing up now is not a big deal. Right, so we have our variable in our box. So we're boxing in the variable, putting that stinky kid in the box. I need to move that -1. It's a -1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I have x over 3 is less than or equal to 3 plus 1 is 4. X is not by itself yet. It has a 3 on the bottom in the denominator, so it's x divided by 3. So the inverse is going to be to multiply both sides by 3. And x, because these are going to go away, is less than or equal to 12. Now remember, our golden rule is for multiplication and division. In this case, there was no multiplication or division by a negative number, so we're good to go. We're just going to keep on rocking. So I know I have a 0. I know positive 12 is to the right of 0. I am going to have a solid circle on 12 because of those equal marks. And then I'm going to test my point. Is 0 less than or equal to 12? Having no money is less than having $12, right? So we're going to shade in the direction of 0 with a solid circle because of that equal to. Number 6 looks a lot like number 5. I highly challenge you to pause your video, try it, and then come back to me and see if our answers match. We're going to subtract 8 because it's a positive 8 to both sides. So our 8's go away. X divided by 3 is greater than or equal to, if I have 10 and I spend 8, then I have 2. X is not by itself. That is x divided by a positive 3. So we're going to multiply by a positive 3 because that is the inverse of division. And so x is going to be greater than or equal to 2 times 3 is 6. So I'm going to have a 0. And I'm going to have a 6 because it's on the right-hand side of 0 because it's positive. We're going to draw a circle at 6. We need to decide if it's open or closed. It's greater than or equal to. So that equal to is what makes that closed. And then we're going to test our point. So 0 is greater than or equal to 6. Is that true or false? That is false. No money is a lot less than 6. Definitely not greater than. So then we are going to shade in the direction away from 0 because 0 is not correct. Right. My favorite 2-step equation. The more you do them, the better you're going to get. So we're going to get the 3 off the bottom out of the denominator. So this is -8 plus r divided by 3. So we're going to multiply by 3 on both sides. And 3 times 4 is 12. Is less than negative 8 plus r. These 3's go away. Box in our variable, r. I have a minus 8. It's a negative 8. So the inverse of a negative 8 or the opposite of a negative 8 is a positive 8. And that's going to get rid of these. And this 12 plus 8 is 20. R. So 20 is less than r. But r, if reading in the direction from the variable, so reading backwards, r is greater than 20. Again, if that doesn't make sense, we're going to have a 0. 20 is to the right because these are positive numbers. These are negative numbers. We're going to draw a circle. Decide if it needs to be open or closed. It's open because there's no equal to. And then we're going to test our 0. Is 20 less than 0? 20 is not less than 0, so we are not going to shade towards the 0. We're going to shade away from the 0. That seems really silly because most of you, though, I'm going to tell you, depending on who your teacher was, they drilled it in your head, follow the arrow of the inequality. Don't do that anymore because they switch up which side your variable's on, which completely blows your direction of the arrow. Now, if a teacher did teach you direction of the arrow and none of what I'm saying, your test point 0, makes sense to you, when you look at that bad boy, most of you look at it and say, oh, that variable's on the wrong side. So if you think, oh, the variable's on the wrong side, then you're going to color in the quote unquote wrong direction if you were taught to color in the direction of the arrow. Otherwise, though, the most confident way to do it is do your test point 0. Okay. All right. So we have our variable in its box, our line of great divide. Pause the video. Try it. It's not going to hurt anything if you mess up. So subtract 2 from both sides because that's a positive 2. 7 minus 2 is going to be 5. So you had 7, spent 2. Less than or equal to b over 3. And I'm sorry, my b's sometimes look like 6's. I need to get b by itself. It's not by itself at this point. It's divided by 3. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. So 15 is less than or equal to b. So again, the variable's on the wrong side, so definitely do not shade in the direction of the arrows. If we do a test point, is 15 less than or equal to 0? It is not. 15 is way better than having no money. So we're going to do our 0 and our 15. At our 15, we're going to draw a circle. Decide is it closed or open? That is an equal to. So we're going to color that bad boy in. 0, that our test point with 0 is not correct. 15 is not less than 0, so we're going to shade away from our 0 point. All right, 2 more, then we're done. Your notes are going to be so great. You're going to love yourself so much when you get to midterm. Trust me. All right, again, it's my favorite. It's much like number 7. Multiply by 4. Pause your video. Try it. Try it by yourself. 4 times a negative 2 is a negative 8 greater than, 4's go away, so x minus 5. X is not by itself. There's that negative 5 or minus 5, so we're going to add 5 to both sides. So if I owed you $8, so we're in the negative 8, and then I paid you 5, so gave you a positive 5, I'm going to still owe you 3. The 5's took care of themselves with their inverses. So negative 3 is greater than 0. I'm sorry, negative 3 is greater than x. And then if we read in the direction of the variable, x is less than negative 3. So if we try our test point, so negative 3 is greater than 0. If we put our 0, we know negative 3 is over here on the left, which means it's less than 0. So that is not true. So we are not going to shade in the direction of the 0. We're going to draw a circle, decide if it's closed or open, so shade it in or not. And there's not an equal to, so we're going to leave it open. Negative 3 is not greater than 0, so we are not going to shade towards the 0. We're going to shade away from 0. Last but not least, number 10, and this is it for notes today, guys. Great divide. If you haven't yet, try it by yourself. Add 10, because that's a negative 10, and that's the inverse of subtraction is adding. So I have a over 5 is less than or equal to negative 8 plus 10 is going to be a positive 2. If I owed you $8 and I handed you a $10 bill, you're in the win for $2. A divided by 5, and that inverse of division would be multiplication. So multiply by 5, multiply by 5. A is less than or equal to 10. Now, this is the side you like your variable. It's on the right, quote unquote, right side for you, for most students. 0, positive 10 is on the right side of 0. If we do our test point, 0 is less than or equal to 10. 0 is definitely less than or equal to 10. We're going to draw our circle at 10, decide if it's open or closed or solid. So solid, because there is that equal. And 0 is less than 10, so you are going to shade in the direction of 0, or pick the answer choice that is shaded in the direction of 0. All right, great jobs on two-step equations, guys. Hang in there. Inequalities, remember that golden rule. If you divide or multiply by a negative, you're going to have to flip your sign. And I don't think we did it at all this time. No division or multiplication by a negative, but it will come. So remember, divide or multiply by a negative, flip the sign. All right, have a great night, guys.